Atomic Habits, Chapter 4, The Man Who Didn't Look Right. So, I haven't made any bullets on exactly why the chapter is called this, so I'm just gonna discuss it briefly. So, at the beginning of the chapter, James Clear is telling a story of a man who's at a family gathering, and his daughter-in-law comes up to him and she says that, I don't like the way you look. And uh, the man takes it as a joke and responds that I don't like the way you look either. And then uh, the daughter-in-law, she is a nurse, and she exclaims to him that he needs to go to the hospital immediately. And it turned out that the man was at risk of a heart attack, and there were subtle cues on his face that the nurse picked up on because she had worked with patients who were victims of heart attacks in the past. And uh, if you were to ask the nurse what cues she picked up on, she would probably say she doesn't know. And that's what basically this chapter is about, is when you do something so often, your brain unconsciously starts making patterns or starts relating patterns to that thing. In the chapter, he gives examples. James Clear gives examples of how military generals on a radar could differentiate between planes and missiles, although they look the same on the radar, but for some reason they can tell the difference. And just in that same sense, the nurse could see that something wasn't right on the face of her father-in-law. Um, which is something very interesting. So now I'm going to continue on with the bullets I've written down, and I'll add things as I see fit. So the first bullet, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This was quoted in the chapter, and the original quote is by Carl Jung. And I think it's actually a very powerful quote because what we perceive as coincidences or things that are just out of our control, or you could even say luck. We call things like coincidences and luck so because they're beyond our understanding. But if we were to figure out what causes those incidents to happen, they would no longer be coincidences or luck because there's probably some simple math behind it that we're just not seeing. Well, it's probably not simple, but there's some math or some logical reasoning for that to happen, uh, that circumstance to happen. But since we don't know, we call it circumstance or we call it luck or coincidence. I personally believe that this world is made up of logic because uh, we were able to go to the moon. There were some rules that pre-exist in this world that are unchanging um, and logical. That's why we were able to create rockets and reach the moon or create cars or create airplanes. It's all logic at the end of the day, and what we don't understand is coincidences or fate, as Carl Jung put it. So next bullet, because habits take place in the non-conscious mind, it is very hard to actually pinpoint what we're doing in a day. If we're working on autopilot with unproductive habits, it leads to an unhappy life. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people get this feeling where they get on their phone, they open some social media app that they like, and then suddenly 2 hours pass by. Or maybe 2 hours is too extreme for you, suddenly 30 or 40 minutes pass by and you have no clue what happened. Another good example is, let's say you're driving home from work, and then suddenly you get home and you don't even realize how you got home because you were so tired and like your brain took over. You know, you were on autopilot as you were driving home. It's happened to me a lot where I start heading home, I put on some music, and then suddenly I reach my home and I'm surprised, like what the heck just even happened? I don't even remember taking the turns that I did to make it home. So there is some truth into that, and sometimes this is good, and other times it's really bad. Like for example, when you're on your phone looking at social media for 40 or 50 minutes, that's precious time that you just lost at a what I perceive as an unproductive habit. Um, in my opinion, if a habit is unproductive and it's not helping you gain anything in any sense, whether it's finances, whether it's let's say from exercise, whether it's strengthening or conditioning, or whether it's relationships, if a habit doesn't help you uh, progress in any of these things, some you may even consider material, but if it doesn't help you progress in any which way, then that's an unproductive habit. And in my opinion, spending time on social media blindly and not getting anything out of it or not growing as a person from it is a waste of time. And I think a lot of people would agree with that, but that's just my humble opinion. So, next bullet, habit scorecard. Create a list of the daily habits that you follow. So the best way to pick up on bad habits is to consciously think about them. And what is a way to consciously think about them? Create a log of your day. You don't have to do this every day, but do it enough days so you can start seeing the patterns of where your quote unquote free time goes. And James Clear provided a little sample in the book of how you could start making a log. So the bullets follow in this format. So you wake up, you turn off your alarm, you check your phone, go to the bathroom, weigh yourself, take a shower, brush your teeth. This is a pretty good start, and what you can do, which is explained down here, is what you could do is you could kind of start looking for patterns by checking if a habit is neutral. So waking up is neutral. It's not neither positive nor negative. You turn off your alarm, that's neutral as well. And then right here, checking my phone, um, that could be a waste of time. It could be a black hole for your precious time. So if you perceive that as a bad thing, you put a minus sign next to it, a negative. Go to the bathroom, that's neutral. You weigh yourself. So that could be perceived as positive. If you have a goal to lose weight, you can make it part of your system to weigh yourself daily to check your progress. Take a shower, that's positive. Brush your teeth, and it just goes down the list. And you can do this yourself, and I'll show you an example at the end of this chapter when I finish this page. And I don't think I did it consistently enough, but I do plan on doing a few more days of vlogging so I can see what some of the bad habits that I perform. Note to self, these are about habits that happen daily. Work and gym are habits, but they don't account for each day of the week. So that's kind of a dilemma that I'm running into is that not every day is the same, which kind of made it difficult for me to vlog some things, especially when I have to go to work. It's really difficult to make time to just drop logs of what you did at work. And obviously, when I'm at home, I won't be performing those actions. So I don't know if I could perceive them as habits. Um, Next bullet, if having difficulty deciding whether a habit is positive or negative, think of it like this. Is this habit helping me become the type of person I wish to be? Does this habit cast a vote for or against my desired identity? So if you remember from the last two chapters, I mentioned my goal of becoming an expert boxer and Muay Thai player. So is this habit helping me become a better boxer, or is it uh, help? Is it doing the opposite of that? Excuse me. So that's an easy way to think of a habit. Uh, like if I want to gain weight for boxing, if I'm really skinny, which I am, so I'm trying to gain weight, not necessarily bulk up, but just gain or maintain a certain level of weight. Weighing myself could be a positive habit that, so I would put a plus sign next to it. If I'm checking my phone, and I could be using that time to work out, take a walk, or you know, do some meditation or exercising. So this is not helping me with my my goal, so I would put a minus sign next to it. Okay, next bullet, there are no good habits or bad habits, there are only effective habits and ineffective habits. And then you can kind of just to build on the first question you're asking yourself about whether your habit is helping you become the type of person that you wish to be, you could ask yourself, is your habit effective at solving your problems? So if it's not effective at solving your problems, that's a minus. If it is effective at solving your problems, that's a plus. So like in James Clear's example, the very last bullet, make a cup of tea. So you may have a problem of drowsiness in the morning when you wake up. So making a cup of tea, you could put a plus next to it if it wakes you up. Um, then that's an effective habit that's solving your problem. So chapter summary, with enough practice, your brain will pick up on the cues that predict certain outcomes without consciously thinking about it. Once our habits become automatic, we stop paying attention to what we are doing. The process of behavior change always starts with awareness. You need to be aware of your habits before you can change them. Pointing and calling raises your level of awareness from a non-conscious habit to a more conscious level by verbalizing your actions. So this is something I actually forgot to discuss. In this chapter, James Clear discusses the the process that the Japanese railway uses to basically secure their trains and ensure the safety of all passengers. He gave an example of well, before I get into the example, what exactly is their process? So every time they do something, they point and call at it. They let's say they want to press a button, they will say they will point at it and they say I am going to press this button. And this is repeated by all members of the crew. And James gave an example of how one time a lady's arm was stuck in the door of the train. The door had closed on her arm and it was stuck. So one of the crew members was doing the standard checking of pointing and calling, and he was pointing at each cart of the train and uh, basically following the procedure. And he said that within I think 5 seconds or a few seconds of checking, he was able to find the lady and get her jammed arm out of the door and basically save her life. So what James Clear is saying in the book is that if you're about to perform an unproductive habit, or if you're trying to stop performing a certain habit, you could point at it. Like let's say you want to eat some sugary treat like cookies, but you want to stop doing that. What you could do is you could point at that cookie and say, I'm going to eat this cookie. It's unhealthy for me and I don't need it, but I want to eat it. So when you say it out loud, you're processing it in your conscious mind rather than unconsciously picking it up and eating the cookie. You're processing it, and then your conscious mind says, wait a minute, I actually don't want to do that. I'm actually trying to avoid doing that. So pointing and calling can be pretty powerful, but I personally don't practice that because it's too much work. Um, but if it does help somebody else, that's pretty cool. Okay, final bullet. The habit scorecard is a simple exercise you can use to become more aware of your behavior. This is the habit scorecard with the equals, equals, minus, blah, blah, blah. So now I can share the log that I created, chapter 4 exercise. It's pretty long, so I'm just going to go through a few bullets at the very top. So I wake up, that's a neutral exercise. Go to the bathroom, that's neutral. Brush my teeth, that's positive. Take off Invisalign, that's neutral. Wash face, positive. Mouthwash is positive. Writing in the daily planner is definitely positive. Take clothes downstairs for laundry, positive. And you just kind of get the idea. And like something like this, browse Tinder. If it's not helping me anyway, that's negative. Or if it's helping me in some way where I'm talking to people, that's positive. So that's subjective. So what I do, okay, first time I browse it, that's cool. Um, but if I keep on browsing it, then that would be a negative. So I'm going to put a plus sign here, but if I were to just kind of scroll down and if I see it again, browse Tinder, that's a negative because I did it the second time. Browse on the phone, that's negative. So you kind of get the idea of how you can uh, make your list. So like I know what's positive and what's negative for me because everybody has individual goals. So something that's positive for me might be negative for you. Um, like if I make a protein shake that's very high in calories and you're trying to go on a caloric deficit, then for you that could be a negative. But for me, because I'm trying to maintain or increase my weight, that's positive. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna close off the video here because chapter 4 I don't think was very long, or I personally didn't take enough notes on it, but I think it covered some pretty good areas for uh, basically progressing with your habits. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you and take care.